What's up, weirdos? It's Thursday. My name is Sarah, and as always, I am joined by...
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Mackenzie.
And this podcast is for weirdos.
Happy birthday!
We're recording this 2 months before my birthday.
Happy birthday!
Thanks. I'm 30 the day that this comes out. The day that we record it, I am 2 months away from that. So,
what do you think you will be doing
on
today,
my birthday?
On the day of your birth.
Grieving.
Yeah.
So for those of you, I don't know how you don't know at this point. We've talked about him every time we talk about any holiday. My brother's dead. He died in May, so he made it through both of our birthdays last year. Me and my brother were 5 years apart, which means that he has successfully ruined 2 milestone birthdays for me, because the first birthday without him, I'm turning 30, and the year where I will turn older than he ever got to be will be my 35th birthday. So thanks, Ryan. You suck. Love you to pieces. So anyway, I don't know what I'm doing on my actual birthday because it's a Thursday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm probably getting text messages from people about this episode. I'm probably eating cake with my mom. I know tomorrow I will be driving of my birthday.
We will be going
the
to
14th.
Austin.
I will be driving to Austin to go to Sherwood Forest. I am just going to say happy birthday, Mackenzie, my cousin. Your birthday is also this week.
I was like, it's birth week.
Yeah, your birthday is this week, and I'm not going to out when your birthday is because I know that you're not like super online. So happy birthday, Mackenzie, my cousin. I love you.
Not me. We got months. until
You're
my
old
birthday.
now, cousin Mackenzie.
Cousin Mackenzie.
She's a year older than me, so she's been old.
Ancient.
She's been old for always.
Yeah.
The 11th, I'm going to see Hamilton with Jamie. So that will have happened already when this comes out. On my birthday, hanging out with mom, probably having my favorite dinner because that's what we do for birthdays in this house. Is we have our favorites. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing for my birthday. I'm sure we'll do something. I'll do something with SCA people. I'll do something. I don't know. I'm gonna it's my 30th birthday. A bunch of people are gonna want to do stuff.
You know what we're gonna do? An extravaganza.
Extravaganza.
Right. Like I am now officially old according to the world. And
Old.
like before my brother died, I was just like whatever. Like woo, 30. Like I was excited about it. It wasn't one of those like I'm dreading turning 30 like a lot of people in their 20s are, because I have so much ahead of me after I turn 30. It's not like this is the end of my life. It's like, no, I have so much room to grow into an even weirder person.
Exactly.
How exciting. And now I get to like be a grown up and be weird about it because I'm 30 and that's like now you're officially an adult.
Yeah, you and Harrison can be crypt keepers together.
Right. We can be old and decrepit and everything on our body can stop working.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. I've already been experiencing that for a long time. So
Yeah.
But now because I have to cope with the loss of my brother around my birthday, it's going to be like, I'm going to be sad. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for the topic?
I'm ready.
Tell us what we're talking about on this day of your birth.
On this day of my birth. So I was born on the 13th. And so for me, 13 is my favorite number. And so we're actually going to be talking about the number 13. And like 13, Friday the 13th. And then I threw in some just like generic bad luck superstitions at the end.
Great.
So what do you know about like 13 and bad luck?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go
I
first?
just know that it is. I don't know why. I don't know if there is a rhyme or reason as to why. I know it's like what is it, like a baker's dozen? You buy a dozen, then you get a little extra one, or like I don't know. It's the first number in the like set in English that goes from like 11, 12, 13, 14. It is the first of like
Right.
the
It no
switch.
longer has its own name.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It I don't know. I always growing up had the like impression that like 13 is like inherently evil, like it is an evil number. But like I don't know why.
Okay.
Because like the number 3 is a holy number, and so I don't know why the addition of the 1 would
Make it weird.
make it weird.
Mackenzie, what do you know?
I know that on a lot of cultures, 13 represents death. So it's the reason hotels will skip the floor 13 or rooms with the number 13 in it. I also know there's the possibility in the Bible, Judas was the 13th person
We gonna talk about that.
to gather. He was the 13th person in that group. And Jesus says, the 13th person to join is the one that will betray me. Judas was the betrayer of Jesus. So I know that has to do with some of the superstition behind the number 13. I know that a lot of it was perpetuated by the media with the movie Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Horror movies. My mommy was also born on a Friday the 13th.
I was born on a Monday, so it's like less cool, but also I think Monday the 13th sounds way worse. It's like Monday is like notoriously a bad day.
Yeah.
What else?
And look
do
at
I know?
you. Notoriously
And that's
good
the day
person.
I came into the world. So like clearly
And the
wasn't
chupacabra.
great. What?
And the chupacabra.
Well, this month.
No, we're just gonna say we share the same birthday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same day.
I mean, I think that's kind of everything.
That's all you got?
That's all I got for right now.
Okay.
Until something magically appears in my brain and I blurt it out because
And you
that's
go,
what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know what the fear of the number 13 is called?
Trypophobia. That's
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 holes.
the holes. It does start with a T. It's triskaidekaphobia.
I
So
did
that's
because it's fun
it's
to
Greek.
say.
It's the Greek.
Trideck.
Yeah, for 13. And so that's the fear or avoidance of the number 13. And that term was used as early as 1910 in
wow.
psychology papers.
Huh.
So like this concept of triskaidekaphobia specifically has been around at least since 1910.
Didn't your mom call it like triple decker phobia?
My mom does call it triple decker phobia.
I mean,
which would be the
same
fear
thing.
of 30, but whatever. To me, triple decker is like
Triple decker is
it's a cake.
3 patties on a sandwich. It's
Yeah. It's
It's
3,
a-
not 13.
it's
But whatever.
a 3
Triple decker phobia.
3-story bus.
So the way that I kind of have my notes broken up is I've got like, we're going to talk about triskaidekaphobia. We're going to talk about the origins of triskaidekaphobia. We're going to talk about Friday the 13th. We're going to talk about some other unlucky numbers. We're going to get into some weirdness with the number 13. And then we're going to talk about some other superstitions. So there's lots of claims that triskaidekaphobia is like this really, really old thing. And like the concept of 13 being unlucky is ancient times kind of thing. But there's not really any record of it. Like it's not mentioned anywhere in manuscripts until the Middle Ages.
Interesting.
And specifically in Europe. Like elsewhere, kind of doesn't really exist. So one of the kind of potential origins for this is in playing cards, which the original playing cards were tarot cards. And they've been around since the 1440s. And one of the trump cards, when you're talking about them as a game deck, or the major arcana as they're known in divination, the 13th is the death card. And so because the 13th card had death on it, it's associated with unluckiness and badness, even though that's not what the card means in a tarot like divination sense. Having that imagery on the card still kind of evoked that. And then in 1781, Antoine Court de Gebelin wrote about the tarot of Marseille, saying that the number 13 was always considered unlucky, which was reaffirmed in 1784 by another author, who said 13 was, quote, always death and misfortune. So that's kind of when, so like the 1440s is kind of when we start getting this idea that 13 is unlucky from these playing cards, and then it just keeps getting reaffirmed and reaffirmed and reaffirmed.
Yeah. So like a self.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
Of just like it
yeah.
just keeps re-upping itself.
Yeah.
So then we have the 13 at a table legend, which is the legend goes that if 13 sit together at a table, one of them will surely die soon. Happens in Harry Potter in the book. If we can't 13 sit, the first to rise will be the first to die. Professor Trelawney like tries to do a prediction, whatever, right?
That one does come true.
Right, because Dumbledore's the first one that gets up. So there's two kind of origins for this concept of the 13 at a table. There's a Norse. I'm going to do a lot of quotations because it's like there's a Norse myth
Lovely.
about 13 people sitting at a table in 1968, Douglas Hill, in a book called Magic and Superstition, recounts a Norse myth about 12 gods having a dinner party in Valhalla. Loki was not invited and arrives as the 13th guest and arranged for Hodor to shoot Balder with a mistletoe-tipped arrow, which would kill him. This story is also echoed in holiday folklore, phobias, and fun by a folklore historian called Donald Dossie, citing Hill. However, in the Prose Edda, that doesn't exist. The story about Loki and Balder does not emphasize that there are 12 gods, nor does it talk about a dinner party or the number 13. So, like, the story of him trying to kill Balder exists, but the rest of the stuff around it doesn't. So then we have the Christian story about it, that the kind of, like, OG origin for that appears to come out in 1774. This guy, Johann August Ephraim Gotze, long name, wrote, "Since I know from experience that superstition loves nothing better than religious matters as its proofs, I believe I'm almost certainly unmistaken when I derive the origin of the matter of the number 13 from the passage of the gospel where the Savior sat at a table with 12 gospels at the Easter meal."
Apostles or gospels?
It said the passage of the gospel.
No, but the second.
Where the Savior sat with 12 disciples at the Easter meal. I had a stroke.
I was like,
I had a
I
stroke.
would have been fine with the word apostles, but gospels.
Apostles comes in later. Yeah, I just can't read. So the passage of the gospel where the Savior sat at the table with 12 disciples at the Easter meal.
Got it.
Starting in the 1890s, we have a number of English language sources that claim that Judas was the 13th person to sit down at the Last Supper, and then he was the one to betray Jesus. It's not actually clear if in the original text of the Bible it says that Judas sat down last, but there are 13 people at the table. We know that there is a number, and that number of people is 13.
There are 12 plus
There
Jesus.
are 12 plus Jesus, so that equals 13.
Yep.
So that's another origin of like, oh, in the Bible, this thing happened relating to 13 people. It was very bad. That number is unlucky. Another theory that I didn't actually write down on my notes, but I thought about while we were talking about like 13 being the first number with like not its own original name. The other thing is it's in a base 12 system. It's the new number 1. Like it's the
next beginning.
It's the next beginning, which is like also kind of an odd thing when we have transitioned to a base 10 system.
Yeah.
So it's a very odd.
It's odd. It also kind of mirrors the, at least now, interpretation of the death card in tarot, like in a spiritual way, where it's
right,
like,
which is not necessarily an ending, but it's a new beginning. Like it's a transition.
It's a transition. It's a like dying in the way that like, yeah, one thing is ending, something else is starting.
Right. So I thought about that. So now we've got some specific unlucky 13 events or things surrounding 13 being unlucky. So we already have in the culture 13 is unlucky.
Yeah.
These other things happen. So the Knights Templar in France, the order for their arrest was ordered on Friday the 13th of October in 1307 by King Philip IV of France. So that's kind of odd. Like, oh, it was not just the 13th, but it was Friday the 13th.
And it was in 1300.
And it was 1307. Then the 13 Club is a thing. So in the 1880s, a bunch of New Yorkers, led by a Civil War veteran, came together to put an end to this superstition and a bunch of other superstitions. And they made a dinner cabaret club that they called the 13 Club. And at the first meeting on January 13th, 1881, at 8:13 p.m., 13 people sat down to dine in room 13 of the venue. The guests walked under a ladder to enter the room and were seated among piles of spilled salt. Many 13 clubs sprang up all over the country over the next decades. These were regularly reported in newspapers because they were like, isn't this silly?
I would go to something like that.
Right. There were some future U.S. presidents who got on board, including Chester A. Arthur and Theodore Roosevelt. They had various imitators, but they all kind of just faded out because people were like, that's a funny thing to do once.
Yeah, it's like, okay, and now I'm done. Yeah.
That's not a thing to go to a lot.
Right. That's so funny.
Then we have HMS K-13, which is a British submarine, which sank on January 29th, but it was K-19, or not 13. I can't fucking read. SK-13 sank on January 29th, 1917, while on her sea trials.
Yeah.
A hatch and some vents were still open when they did a submerge, and it sank. Though she was raised and 48 men were rescued, 32 sailors and civilian technicians did die in that accident. And in subsequent classes of British submarine, the number 13 was not used. So the next class of submarine was L, because obviously they're going through the alphabet, and they went from L12 to L14. They did not have an L13 because of this accident. I assume you all know about Apollo 13,
Yeah.
Yep.
which was launched on April 11th in 1970 at 1,300 hours and 13 minutes. And suffered an oxygen tank explosion on April 13th at 2,100 hours. It returned safely to Earth on April 17th, but that's still like a,
Yeah.
13. There was also a mini stock market crash on Friday, October 13th in 1989.
Oh.
Wasn't a huge deal, but there was a crash. Now we get one of my favorite ones. Irish cars. We're going to talk about some weird shit about the number 13 in regards to Irish cars.
Okay.
Vehicle registration plates in Ireland, so they're license plates.
Yeah.
The license plate number on your car represent the registration year of the vehicle. So the first two numbers are from the year. So if a car was registered in 2011, it's going to have an 11 at the beginning of its license plate. 2012 comes around, and the Society of the Irish Motor Industry is a little concerned about the prospect of having 13 registered on vehicles.
Yeah.
Because it might discourage people from buying new cars because of the superstition surrounding the number 13.
Sure.
And that car sales in the motor industry and stuff would suffer as a result. So the government, in consultation with the Society of the Irish Motor Industry, introduced a new system for 2013 where vehicles would have their registrations plate age identifier, so the beginning, modified to read 131 for vehicles registered in the first 6 months of 2013, and 132 for those that registered in the latter half of the year. So instead of having 13 dash whatever the rest of the license plate would be, it would be 131 dash whatever the rest of the license plate would be, or 132 dash whatever the rest of the license plate would be. In my opinion, that still has a 13 on it.
Yeah, it still does have a 13.
You didn't make it 113 and 213. You didn't make it 113 and 213. You made it 13, 1. That's still 13.
Yeah.
But they did that for that year.
Interesting.
Some more NASA shit, because there was an interesting change in the way that they named missions after the Apollo 13 incident. There was a mission that was supposed to be a shuttle mission that was going to be called STS-13. But it was then renamed STS-41C.
Okay.
Because they changed the naming system. Partially, NASA says that they changed it because pre-Challenger disaster, they had so many planned launches that the number would have gotten astronomically high if they had just done call sign dash number, so STS for the space shuttle flights dash 437.
Yeah.
There would have been too many numbers.
It would have gotten ridiculous quickly.
They changed it to a number and a letter system. Not because of Apollo 13. It wasn't Apollo 13. That's not why we changed it.
Yeah, definitely not.
Definitely not that.
There's no superstition here.
Definitely
We're
not
scientists.
Definitely not superstition. But the crew who was on the flight that was supposed to be named STS-13 were apparently not superstitious at all, and they made a mission patch. They're silly mission patch that they make. So they have the official one, and then they have the one that the astronauts make themselves.
Yeah.
It had a black cat with the number 13 on it.
Fuck yeah.
And the mission re-entered and landed on Friday the 13th, which one of the crew described as being, quote, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Love an astronaut.
No.
Now we're going to talk about the 13th floor, 13th room, 13th house, the number 13 being applied to
a location.
a location
Sure.
phenomena. So we're going to talk about houses first because it's kind of a weird anomalous one. I have this one factoid. There are a lot of streets in London specifically that do not have a house numbered or building numbered 13. And those streets include Fleet Street, Park Lane, Oxford Street, St. James's Street, Haymarket, and Grosvenor street. I don't know if I said that one correctly. Sorry, any UK listeners. So it's just like, they'll have 1 through 12 and then 14. They won't have a house numbered 13,
13
on their streets. Now we're going to talk about floors, which Chris was fascinated in the Ghost of the Alamo episode to find out that there are lots of hotels that don't have a number 13 floor.
Yeah, I thought it was just the one.
Right.
Like, I did not think that was a thing.
So the origin of skipping the 13th floor on elevators isn't really known where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
However, during the advent of early skyscrapers, New York architectural critics warned developers not to exceed the height of the 13th floor.
Okay.
These critics insisted that buildings rising above the 13th floor, which is 130 feet or 40 meters, would lead to increased street congestion, ominous shadows, and lower property values. Nevertheless, in a work published in 1939, sociologist Otto Neurath compared the use of money in an economy, which he saw as unnecessary, to the superstition of not installing at the 13th floor, merely a social convention. This is a thing that we do.
Uh-huh.
We use money to buy things, and we don't include the 13th floor in hotels or office buildings or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Lots of places will not include a 13th floor because the owner or the builder themselves have triskaidekaphobia, like they have a superstition around the number 13.
Yeah.
Or a desire to prevent future problems with tenants, occupants, customers, whatever.
Yeah.
So it could be they themselves being like, no, we're not putting in a 13th floor. Are you crazy?
Right.
Or them being like, people care about this.
Right, because, I
We're
mean,
not going to put in a 13th floor.
I guess if you are, like, building an office building and, like, you're renting out, like, floor by floor.
Right. That floor is going to be empty.
That floor is going to be empty. It's going to be hard to
It's going to be hard to get that floor
rent
leased
out the
Right.
13th floor.
Or
Or lease or whatever.
In 2002, based on an internal review of records, this guy who worked for Otis Elevators estimated that about 85% of the buildings with at least 13 floors with that brand of elevator did not have a floor labeled the 13th floor in their elevators. Early tall building designers worrying about fire and stuff on the 13th floor, or tenants' superstitions about the rumor, decided to omit having 13th floor listed on their elevator numbering. So, like, literally being scared of a fire starting because it's the 13th floor was a reason why they didn't include it. Then it became commonplace and is now, like, a thing in American culture and building design.
Crazy.
Right.
I wonder if architects learn at all about...
I should text my aunt and ask.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different ways that places will avoid having the number 13 on their hotel, in their elevator or
Office
rooms
whatever.
or like whatever. Often the easiest way is to just go from 12 to 14. So in the elevator, it'll just go 12, 14, no 13th floor.
Yeah.
Other elevators will label the floor between 12 and 14 as 12A or 12B. So you'd have 12, 12A, 14, or you'd have 12A, 12B, 14.
I wonder if that's why sometimes you'll have like a sub one and like you'll have 2 ground level floors at a hotel sometimes.
Oh,
So
maybe.
it
So that way the
starts-
top one is 12.
So it makes the top 12.
Yeah. Other places will give... No, that is a good thought.
I just know that sometimes like hotels it's like L, but then you've got like GL. Like,
Yeah.
You've got a secondary, like a
you have like
sub.
lobby, and then you have
The ground-
1,
yeah.
2.
Or you
3.
have like lobby, and then you have mezzanine, and then sometimes they'll do like 1, 2, 3, 4 from there.
Or like
Yeah.
in the middle you'll have atrium.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll throw they'll throw a middle.
Right. So other
floor in.
places will name that floor instead of giving it a number
Yeah.
designation.
Yeah, so like atrium. or-
So I have some very specific
Ooh.
examples.
Ooh, tell me.
The Radisson Hotel in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Okay.
The 13th floor is where the pool is, so it is labeled pool floor
Ah.
on the elevators. The Sheraton on the Falls in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, only has a restaurant on the 13th floor, and therefore it is labeled restaurant in the elevator. So that's a way that places will do it, is they'll do that. There's another thing is they will have the 13th floor, but it won't have any... If it's an office building, it won't have any office space in it. If it's a hotel, it won't have any rooms. It'll just be like a mechanical floor, so it'll have an M. Another thing is M is the 13th letter in the Latin alphabet.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the floor is just labeled as M floor. And so the rooms on that floor will be M whatever number they are. It is.
Well, then I'm unlucky.
Yes. Mackenzie starts with a 13. Are you also counting? Yeah. Now we have just some fun facts about triskaidekaphobia specifically. In a 2007 Gallup poll,
Okay.
13% of American adults reported that they would be bothered if given a hotel room on the 13th floor. So it's funny that it's 13% of them.
That's really funny.
While 9% indicated that they would be bothered enough to request a room on a different floor. So
9% of the 13.
13.
Okay.
So 13%. No, I think it's 9% of Americans reported. So it was
Oh,
13%
got it.
said, I don't want to be on that floor.
Mhm.
And then they were asked a secondary question that was, would you switch floors? And 9% of Americans, not 9% of that 13, 9% of adults were like, I also would ask to be moved. Research on whether or not it affects real estate presents kind of a mixed picture. There's some real estate developers who have claimed that they're unaware of any reduction in the value of 13th floor offices or apartments. But studies conducted in Russia found that the 13th floor apartments were less likely to sell compared to apartments on the 12th or 14th floors. This effect was eliminated if developers offered buyers a 10% or greater discount on 13th floor apartments. So if you go like, what if we knock down the price? They're like, okay.
Okay. Great.
So now we've got some other number phobias, because 13 isn't the only scary number.
Yeah.
There's lots of scary numbers. 4, the number 4, which is called tetraphobia, is really common in a lot of East and Southeast Asian countries.
Yep.
Specifically China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, Japan, Korea, and Vietnam.
They skip that number in hotels.
Because the word for 4
Uh-huh.
in classical Chinese is almost identical to the word for death.
Yep.
Oh.
I witnessed that when I was in China.
Right. So a lot of places will omit the number, the 4th floor in China. And in several languages that are kind of related to classical Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and Vietnamese, the words are the same word. Like in Chinese, it's a minor, because it's a tonal language.
Yeah.
It's a slight different pronunciation. In Korean, Japanese, and Vietnamese, it's the same word. Wow. So they do
That's
that.
weird.
Where they don't put the 4th floor
Yeah.
in buildings with more than 4 floors.
I wonder how that developed that way.
I don't know. I don't have a linguistic study for you, but I do know that.
Fascinating.
Then we have 17, which is called heptadecaphobia. Heptadecaphobia. In Italy, some planes have no row 17, hotels have no room 17, and on Italian cruise lines, they will have no deck 17 on their cruises. And the rumor behind this,
Yeah.
which is the silliest thing I've ever read,
Yeah.
is that in Roman numerals, 17 is XVII, which can be rearranged to VIXI, which in Latin means I have lived, but is often used as a euphemism for I am dead.
Yeah, I have
I
lived.
have lived. I am no longer living. I have done that. So they have a big deal with 17 in Italy.
Huh.
Now we have 39.
Bom.
I didn't write down the phobia for this one. It was too many syllables. I wasn't going to try.
That's fair.
39 is 13 times 3.
Okay.
And this number is seen as a badge of shame or to be cursed in Afghanistan specifically. So it's like a weird 3 times 13 is really bad 13. And then, of course, we have 666, but also derived from that 616, come from the biblical mark of the beast.
Yep.
So,
Fun. Can I tell a quick 666 story?
hell yeah.
So growing up, I went to Catholic school. Yeah.
Right. We all know. We're
Well,
aware.
we know.
At one point,
Mhm.
there was one year that my dad had to go to the school to get the bill changed for his monthly payment for
For tuition.
tuition, because they were billing him $666 a month. And he was like,
This is a Catholic school.
This is a Catholic school. What the fuck is wrong with y'all?"
You cannot do this.
And this was like in elementary, middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, I don't care if you raise tuition by like $12. So it is $667 a
Right.
payment. Like, I don't care.
Right.
But the 9% of people asking to have a room that is not on the 13th
Your
floor.
dad is that for 666.
My dad is that for 666.
My Mima is also that way for 666. Like if you're playing a game with 3 dice and
Mhm.
you roll in 18,
Yeah.
because it's 3 6s, she'll leave the room. Like she would be like, I can't do this anymore.
I mean, I know Yahtzee is 6 dice.
Yeah.
How would she feel about 6 sixes? Yahtzee.
No.
No, that's worse.
That's 2 pairs of 666.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
double bad. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the flip side, lucky number 13.
Oh.
In some regions, 13 is or has been considered a lucky number. Example, prior to the First World War, 13 was considered to be a lucky number in France, even being featured on postcards and charms.
Oh.
In even more modern times, 13 is lucky in Italy, except in some contexts, such as sitting at the dinner table because of the Christian thing. In Cantonese-speaking areas, including Hong Kong, the number 13 is considered lucky because it sounds similar to the Cantonese words meaning sure to live,
Oh.
as opposed to the number 14, which again is the number 4, which in Cantonese sounds like the word meaning sure to die.
Mm.
Colgate University was started by 13 men with $13 and 13 prayers, so 13 is considered a lucky number at that college. And Friday the 13th is the luckiest day at Colgate University. And 13 has always been my lucky number. Like a lot of people will put it as their lucky number.
Yeah.
I graduated in 2013. I was born on the 13th. Like 13 is my number,
Yeah.
so it's my lucky number.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk specifically about Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm. The movie?
No, the concept.
The concept.
I actually don't bring up the movie. There's so much other shit that I was like, we don't need
Yeah.
to talk about pop culture. So there's a specific phobia for Friday the 13th.
Oh.
And it is paraskivy-decatriophobia.
Paraskivy.
Triskaidekaphobia.
Decatriophobia.
Decatriophobia.
So it's still there's also another one that was just frigatriskaidekaphobia is another name for it, because Frigga is the goddess who Friday was named after.
Yeah.
So it's just Friday and then the fear of 13. So I don't remember the actual breakdown for paraskivy. And then decatria is just, instead of triskaideka, it's decatria.
Decatria.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Friday itself has been considered an unlucky day since the Middle Ages and the English-speaking word because Jesus was crucified on a Friday.
Yeah. They wouldn't land ships or
Right.
like
It's considered bad.
don't
Like
go
it's
sailing
considered
on a
bad luck
Friday.
to travel on Fridays,
Yeah.
come into town, come out of town on a Friday, those
LOL,
kinds of
that's the
things.
day I
Today's
traveled
Friday.
Today's Friday.
We're recording this on a Friday.
The 3rd.
I'm gonna be
Friday the
traveling on
3rd.
Friday. Probably. Maybe.
I'm going to be traveling on a Saturday. But yeah, like it's considered, it's just an unlucky day.
Yeah.
So combining this already unlucky number with this already unlucky day is like a double super bad unlucky thing.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to talk about the Knights Templar again. Because the arrest proclamation came on Friday the 13th, this became one of the purported origins for the, Friday the 13th specifically myth. And then in France, Friday the 13th might have been associated with misfortune as early as the first half of the 19th century. A character in an 1834 play states, "I was born on a Friday, December 13th, 1813, from which came all of my misfortunes." So it's like, because I was born on this bad day, I am now stricken with
Cursed.
badness. Continuing with the French, an early documented reference in English occurs in this biography of this French guy whose name I can't pronounce. We're not going to try. It's not super duper important. He died on a Friday the 13th. His last name is Rossini. And in this biography, it said, Rossini was surrounded to the last by admiring friends, and if it be true that, like so many Italians, he regarded Fridays as an unlucky day and 13 as an unlucky number, it is remarkable that on Friday the 13th of November, he passed away.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
Reason why this kind of continued to hang out in the cultural zeitgeist, like why this continued going, right? Because a lot of these kinds of myths of unlucky things, especially when they stem from potentially the Bible,
Yeah.
tend to kind of fall out of favor after a while, especially
Yeah.
once we get into the more modern era. But there was a book, a novel called Friday the 13th that was published in 1907, kind of contributed to the popularizing of the superstition. And in that novel, an unscrupulous broker takes advantage of the superstition to create Wall Street panic on Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Which is interesting that 80 years later, there
There
was a
is.
stock market crash
Right.
on a Friday the 13th.
Kind of fun.
Yeah, kind of interesting. So that kind of like helped the spread in the early 20th century of
This idea.
that like, oh, we're kind of falling out of Victorian times. We're getting towards, like the modern era. This is kind of something that you'd think would fall off, but instead this book comes out and kind of like pushes it back up. It,
reasserts itself.
yeah, reasserts itself. It brings it back up into the forefront. So some similar bad days, right? We talked about similar unlucky numbers. We're going to talk about some similar unlucky days.
Okay.
Tuesday the 13th.
Oh.
In Hispanic countries, Tuesday the 13th is considered an unlucky day. All I got.
Okay. I was going to say, why?
No further context. The Greeks also considered Tuesday, and especially the 13th, an unlucky day. Tuesday is considered dominated by the influence of Ares, specifically the god of war. And the fall of Constantinople occurred on a Tuesday the 13th the first time.
Huh.
The fall of Constantinople the second time. Stop. The second fall of Constantinople happened on another Tuesday. It wasn't a Tuesday the 13th, but it was a Tuesday. And that strengthened the superstition about Tuesday. In addition, the Greek name of the day is Triti, meaning the third day of the week, adding weight to the superstition because bad luck comes in threes. So it's the third day, the 13th. Bad.
Right.
Getting back to the 17 thing, in Italy, Friday the 17th is considered to be the unlucky day, the bad luck day, because of the lixi, I have lived, meaning I am dead. And 13 is actually considered a pretty lucky number in Italy, but some people may also consider it an unlucky number because of how popular the story is, right? Like the Americanization of 13 being unlucky has like made its way over there. So now they have two bad days. If they have a Friday the 13th or the 17th, they're fucked.
Yeah.
Fooked.
Let's talk about some social implications of decatriophobia. According to the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute in Asheville, North Carolina, an estimated 17 to 21 million people in the United States are affected by fear of Friday the 13th, making it the
Wow.
most feared day and date in history. Some people are so scared of Friday the 13th that they do not do their normal stuff. They won't go to work. They won't take flights. They will even avoid leaving their house on Friday the 13th. It has been estimated that in the U.S., between $800 and $900 million can be lost in business on Friday the 13th. Despite this, representatives for both Delta Airlines and Continental Airlines, now the latter now merged into United Airlines, have stated that their airlines do not suffer from any noticeable drop in travel on Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Is it actually an unlucky day? Do we think that there is statistics about this? What about accidents? Do they get worse on Friday the 13th?
Do they?
I have some studies for you.
Tell me.
A study by Scanlon, Lubin, Scanlon, and Singleton
Wow.
in 1993, different Scanlon, spelt differently, attracted attention from popular science literature as it concluded that the risk of hospital admissions as a result of a transport accident may be increased by as much as 52% on Friday the 13th.
Wow.
However, the authors clearly state that the number of admissions from accidents are too small to allow meaningful analysis. So, like, that number is not a big enough sample size to actually produce
Data.
Yeah.
Subsequent studies have kind of disproved the correlation. But the Dutch Center for Insurance Statistics stated the contrary, that fewer accidents and report of fire or theft occur on the 13th, Friday the 13th, than other Fridays because people are preventatively more careful or just stay home. Like, they're scared to go out, so there's less bad that happens.
I mean, my thought would have been maybe it is higher because the people that don't want to be out and are already afraid and already are on edge because they're like something
They're
bad is
scared.
going to happen today. Have an accident and they're like, oh no, something bad did happen
something
today.
bad did happen today. Right. You're already on edge, so you're driving less safely.
Your
Yeah.
fear oven has been fully preheated.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, fear oven fully preheated.
You're making that pie.
the pie's going in the oven.
Pie is being baked.
Pie is bubbly and
Yeah, and
hot.
it's like I have to go to Walmart or I will not have toilet paper. I have to go out on Friday the 13th.
Right. Scary.
Scary. They're going to get in a car crash
They're gonna get
because
in a
they're
car crash.
fucking afraid.
Right. You'd think that those kinds of people would be prepared
You'd
and
think.
not have to go out. Like if you're that scared of it,
But,
your calendar's marked.
you know, accidents happen.
Accidents do happen. Also, we've got tattoo days, are a thing that happened on Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
In
they
recent
are.
years, many tattoo parlors have kind of capitalized on this idea, where they offer discounted flash tattoos with the number 13 in them. Some claim that having the number 13 would help protect you from the bad luck of the number 13, because bad luck would come find you. It'd see that you are already marked with a 13, meaning you already have bad luck, and it'll just move on by.
Huh.
So, if you're listening and you have a Friday the 13th tattoo, send us a picture.
Yeah. I want to see your tattoo.
I want to see your Friday the 13th tattoo. Now we have my favorite thing that I found out about in this research.
Okay.
National Accident Day
Oh.
in Finland. So National Accident Day is a day to raise awareness about automotive safety in Finland. The day is chosen to be on Friday the 13th each year. And because, spoiler alert, there's a Friday the 13th at least once every year.
Yeah.
It's always possible for them to have this event. It started in 1995, so congratulations. Happy 30th birthday to National Accident Day.
Yippee.
In 2013, National Accident Day was on September 13th. And
in 2013.
2013, it was on September 13th, Friday the 13th. And they were having a lot of accidents in Finland that resulted in a lot of deaths. And so they have this day as kind of like a driving safety, workplace safety, just like it's a safety day.
Yeah.
It's called National Accident Day, so that way people like are aware, like, hey,
They're thinking about accidents.
Happen.
Yeah.
You
This
know.
what do I do in an accident?
Right. And so it's a thing that they do every year. How often do Friday the 13th happen? There is at least one Friday the 13th every year. The most a year can have is 3. 2024, last year,
Yeah.
had 2 Fridays the 13th. This year, we'll get 1.
Oh.
2026, however,
3?
3 for. The way to
When are the
know
ones in 2020? When are the ones this year?
the one this year.
Yeah.
What a great question that I didn't check. So the way to know if it really easy. If you're looking through your calendar, you don't have to look on Fridays. You just have to look what the first day of the month is. If the first day of the month is a Sunday, Friday is going to be on a 13th. The 13th will be on a Friday. So our Friday the 13th in 2025 is in June.
Woo!
Okay? I just pulled it up. June 13th.
Spooky Pride.
Friday the 13th during Pride Month.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Chris.
Yay! That one's mine.
So yeah, any month that starts on a Sunday, the 13th will fall on a Friday because of how calendars work.
Unless
Because
it's
there's-
leap year.
No, still. If the month starts on a Sunday, the 13th will fall on a Friday.
Yeah, I guess so.
Correct.
The only time, so in a leap year,
I'm dumb.
you're not dumb. You weren't thinking. You weren't using your brain to its fullest. There's more statistics about like how to determine how many Friday the 13th there will be. It's like,
Right.
I think if the year starts on a Thursday, we get 3 that year, depending on if it's a leap year or not a leap year. You can find all this on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Google Friday the 13th. It will tell you the frequency. It was a lot of math, and I went, I'm just going to include what last year had, what this year will have, and what next year will have.
Yeah.
So that's all I've got about 13. Now we're going to talk about some other bad luck superstitions. And I want to see just very basically if y'all can guess like a couple of these that I've got.
Okay.
So what do you think? What's a thing that you know is bad luck?
Broken mirrors.
That's one.
Walking under ladders.
That's one.
Spilled salt.
I have that one.
Spilled milk.
I don't have spilled milk. I don't think that's bad luck. I think that's just like a bummer.
Okay.
So we've got 3.
Black cats.
Black cats are on here. The ones that are left are very specific, so you may not know them. I'm gonna give you a hint. Theater is one of them.
Oh,
Theater.
Break a leg, or like that.
Yep.
I was gonna say the ghost light.
I don't have the ghost light in a theater. That was so specific that I didn't include it, and most people don't know that one. It's another one that a lot of people would know, even if they're not in theater.
Both of them are.
I have one more theater one, and then I'll just go through them.
Oh, it's Macbeth.
Macbeth. Okay. So I have more than just those, but those are the ones that I was like, they'll probably guess these.
Yeah.
So we're going to start breaking a mirror.
Yeah.
So breaking a mirror, 7 years bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
We've all heard that before. So where does the 7 years come from? And the 7 years comes from the ancient Romans, actually.
Oh.
This myth is that old. The Romans believed that the body fully renewed itself every 7 years, and that we were on like a 7-year life cycle in our bodies.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's 7 years. It's not like, oh, you're cursed for 7 years. It's more of a, don't worry, in 7 years, you're a new person, so your bad luck's over.
Oh,
It's
I like
less
that.
of a, oh, it's 7 whole years. It's like, don't worry, it's only 7 years.
Yeah.
And the reason why breaking a mirror is bad luck is because mirrors are considered to be a reflection or a window into your actual soul.
Yeah.
And breaking one could break your connection to your inner self.
Oh.
So for 7 years, you're kind of like wonky, but then at the end of that 7 years, you're renewed. And so you've broken that curse on yourself. I'm going to have y'all ever heard of this one? Gifting someone a clock.
No.
Yes.
So it's Chinese, which is why I thought Mackenzie might have heard of it, because she has been to China.
That's not why I've heard of it, but
Okay.
yes.
So in China, it's considered a curse or a bad luck to give someone a clock, because the phrase gifting a clock and attending someone's funeral,
Very similar.
very similar sounding. So it doesn't apply to watches, because the word for watch is different. Like a small clock is a different thing than clock, so the word is different. And the unluckiness can be counteracted by having the recipient exchange a small amount of money for the clock, because then it's not gifted.
Then you're
So
purchasing.
basically, it's like, oh, I'm giving you a penny for this clock. You didn't gift it to me. I bought it
Yeah.
from you. So if you find a clock that you really want to give somebody, be like, I have a present. Do you have a penny?
Yeah. You need to give me a penny.
Do you have a penny so we can exchange this?
Huh.
You probably have heard of half of this one. You may
Okay.
not have heard of the second half.
Okay.
So we know about horseshoes being lucky.
Yeah.
Do you know that an upside down horseshoe is unlucky? So a horseshoe hanging this way
Uh-huh.
is unlucky. So
Is this Irish?
Is it because
No,
like,
it's-
it's catching good things and dumping out good
Yep.
things?
dumping about. So the origin of a lucky horseshoe is actually from Saint Dunstan, before he was a saint, who was a blacksmith. And the devil showed up and asked him to reshoe his horse. And the blacksmith said, sure, I'll reshoe his horse, grabbed the devil's foot, and shoed the devil. The devil said, get this off of me. And Dunstan said, I'll take this off of you as long as you promise to never enter a house with a horseshoe over the door. And the devil was like, I don't get this off of me. So if you tack a horseshoe right side up, so U-shaped over your door, it's supposed to bring you good luck, because it
Yeah.
can catch all that good luck in the good little bowl, and it
Prevent
will
the
keep the
devil.
devil out of your house. Bad spirits, the devil, whatever. However, if you hang it the other way, upside down like this, all that good luck will spill out, causing bad luck to find you, and it creates an archway for the devil to walk through. So your house is no longer protected. Make sure your horseshoes are pointed up, with the points upward. We have like 1 billion of them in this house, over like every fucking door.
Yeah.
I think there's one over this room, like on the outside.
I think there is.
So nothing bad can come into this room. I know you've heard of this one, even though you didn't. Bring
Name
it up. Talk to me about umbrellas.
Oh, don't
Oh.
open them inside.
Don't open an umbrella inside.
Yeah.
It's bad luck. No one actually knows where the fuck this comes from. Legend has it that it comes all the way back to the ancient Egyptians, where doing so would be an affront to the sun gods, who would curse you for your rudeness.
Rah.
Probably not fucking real, but it's just bad luck. Don't open your umbrella side. It's also messy and dangerous. You're gonna knock shit over.
Yeah,
or,
I was
you
like,
know, spray water.
Right. You're gonna get water everywhere. Like, don't do that.
you know, your mom's gonna yell at you because you
You
broke,
made a-
you broke her vase.
You broke a vase and you made a puddle from the last time that the umbrella was used.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Now
We gotta-
mom's fucking upset with you.
Now mom's mad at you. We've got another one from Asia. Sticking chopsticks straight up and down
Oh,
in
I
a
know
bowl.
this one.
So in
It's Japanese, not Chinese.
it's
though.
Japanese, yeah. It's bad luck or taboo because it resembles their funeral offerings.
Oh.
So when someone has died, they leave offerings of rice with the 2 chopsticks standing straight up in the middle of the bowl for the deceased.
So if you're eating in Japan, you don't ever stick your chopsticks and you lay them across.
Because
your
if
bowl.
you put them in, if you accidentally get them straight up and down, it can be seen as like an omen or like welcoming badness to you.
Okay.
So like, don't do that.
Welcome death into your life.
Welcoming death into your life. Ravens, crows,
yeah.
magpies, corvids in general.
Blackbirds.
Blackbirds. So the color black is often associated with bad luck, as it's been the color code for like death and misfortune. So these poor, like brilliant birds have become associated with that lore purely because of their color and often for their intelligence. Because they're
so smart.
They're so smart and they're really good mimics and they can repeat
have
human voices.
Very scary voices, though, when
They
they
do.
repeat things.
So they've been associated with being the devil in disguise because they can talk to you. According to Greek myth, we have Apollo to thank or blame for the raven's black plumage. They were his messengers in the mortal world. And he actually sent a white crow or raven, depending on the version of this myth, to follow his lover, who was being unfaithful. When the bird brought this news back to Apollo, the god scorched the bird in his fury, turning the feathers black and beginning the legend that corvids are the bearers of bad news.
Oh.
And then, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the nursery rhyme about magpies, but I'm going to tell you the whole thing.
Tell us.
1 for sorrow, 2 for mirth, 3 for a wedding, 4 for a birth, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret never to be told, 8 for a wish, 9 for a kiss, 10 for a bird you should not miss, 11 for health, 12 for wealth, 13, beware, it's the devil himself. Just to bring it back to the number 13.
Cute.
So, like, if you see a bunch of fucking birds, count them, and maybe you'll find out what's going to happen to you. If it's more than 13, you're screwed. It doesn't mean anything. Now, we are not in a theater, so I can say this. Macbeth.
Macbeth.
The tradition, like, there's a whole bunch of different origins for this story. Like, some people are like, oh, the first ever performance of Macbeth, everyone died. Or whatever. The traditional origin is said that an actual real coven of witches was mad at Shakespeare because he used an actual real spell in Macbeth. Who knows?
Who knows?
But one hypothesis for the origin of this superstition is that Macbeth was super popular, and so it was commonly put on by theaters that were in financial trouble, or that the high cost of producing Macbeth put theaters into financial trouble, and so the association between a production of Macbeth and the theater going out of business got kind of brought around. So it's like, oh, Macbeth's bad luck. When you speak the name of the play aloud in a theater, which is, it's often instead called the Scottish play, and the characters are called Macbee and Lady Macbee instead of their names when doing rehearsals. When you speak it aloud in the theater, tradition requires the person who said it to leave and perform a traditional cleansing ritual and then be invited back in. The rituals are supposed to ward off the evil spirit that uttering the play's name is feared to bring. The ritual can include a bunch of different things. The one that I know is spinning around 3 times, spitting, and then reciting a line from another Shakespeare play, usually about something about like asking for forgiveness. So we have angels and ministers of grace defend us from Hamlet, if we shadows have offended from Midsummer Night's Dream, and fair thoughts and happy hours attend on you from the Merchant of Venice. So I actually, when I was doing Hamlet when I was in high school at theater camp, our director, like somebody asked if people actually talked like this in Shakespeare's time, and so our director had a like printout of a contemporary review of Macbeth from the first performance of Macbeth that was written in a paper. So it was like, oh, this is how people wrote in the newspaper in Shakespearean times. And she reads us this fucking review in the main theater at the school, and it's a review of Macbeth. And she says it, and all these little teeny bopper theater kids start screaming at her because she's saying Macbeth over and over and over again. And we're like, Frost, you have to go outside. You have to leave. Why didn't we do this in the lobby or like in the rehearsal room? Why are we doing this in the theater?
Yeah.
And then, fun fact, our rehearsals for the rest of the day were fucking cursed.
Yeah.
Our Hamlet almost died.
What I grew up with was my theater director in high school did not believe in, like, she did not take it seriously. She was like, "Brr, brr, brr," whatever. She was a Shakespeare scholar.
Look, me too, but don't say that in the theater.
Right. You know, it made,
I'm also, believe it or not, I'm incredibly superstitious.
you know, it made all of us extremely uncomfortable. But the explanation that I was given for, like, why the curse exists is because the swords, the swords and the level of, like, swords and violence with swords that happens on stage, there are prone to be more accidents. So of course more people are going to get hurt doing Macbeth,
Right.
because you're swinging fucking big old swords around. You're gonna fucking hit somebody.
Right.
You're gonna break shit because you got big fucking swords. And
So the
cast members are not the most responsible when given props. That's so fucking funny.
My favorite part of this bad luck superstition is that in various different versions of the, like, ritual to make it better, the person who did the bad thing has to be invited back into the theater.
Yeah.
So you can, like, punish them. Like, stay out there, think about what you've done.
Yeah.
We will invite you back in.
We will tell you when you can come
We'll
back.
tell you when you've been penitent for long enough for your sins. The other one is, of course, saying good luck in theater.
Yeah.
Instead of saying good
Break
luck, people say break a leg.
Yeah.
Because saying good luck is actually bad luck and will curse the production, or at least the person that it was said to.
They're gonna forget their fucking lines.
So those are some theater superstitions. Got a couple more. Shoes on the table. Bad luck.
Bad luck.
Bad luck.
I just thought, like, not
sanitary.
not sanitary.
Bad luck. Starts from northern England, specifically the coal mining industry. When a miner died in an accident, his shoes would be placed up on the table as a sign of respect for his loss. So putting your own shoes on the table is tempting fate and inviting death. Also, it's just yucky. Don't put your shoes on the table.
Interesting.
Spilled salt. You guys brought that one up. Bunch of different origins for this superstition, supposedly. Do you want to know where one of them might come from? Take a guess.
Asia.
Nope. I like specifically, where do you think it comes from? Where do we get the source material?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
No, but you're right on the source. The Bible.
Bible.
The Bible. Supposedly, Judas spilled salt at the Last Supper, and because he did something bad the next day, it is believed that the spilled salt was a sign that the devil was right behind him, tempting him.
Well, that's why you throw salt over your
You
shoulder.
throw it over your left shoulder to counter the bad luck, because you're throwing it directly in the devil's face.
I can never remember.
Left. 'Cause
Right.
Sinister.
Right. I can never remember. So anytime I spill
both
salt,
shoulders?
both shoulders.
Your angel gets hit in the face.
Well, that's fine.
So the throwing it over your left shoulder is supposed to hit the devil who is lurking there, waiting to do something bad to you. Whisper badness in your ear.
Yeah.
And you throw salt in his face, and he goes.
Yeah.
Another possible origin is from the fact that salt was just really fucking expensive back in the olden days when this superstition kind of came about. So tying spilling it to a bad luck superstition made it where people were less likely to be caught, like, careless with their salt, because it's like, oh, the devil will get me if I spill the salt, not my mom will beat the shit out of me because I just wasted $100.
Yeah.
Ladders, don't walk under them.
Dangerous.
Bad luck. No, it's bad luck. It's not dangerous. We don't care about danger here. We only care about
bad luck.
We only care about being cursed by the Ethereum.
Yeah.
The ever-existing presence around us will curse us if we walk under a ladder. Do you know why?
You might fall
Why?
over. Oh, it's triangle.
What's a triangle?
3 sides.
What else? What's 3?
The Trinity.
The Trinity. If you walk under a ladder, you're flipping off the Trinity.
You're flipping it off.
You're being mean to the Trinity. You're disrespecting the Trinity by walking under a ladder, because it is a 3-sided object, and you walking under it is breaking that Trinity of things. Doing so would incur spiritual punishment. Don't walk under a ladder. It's bad for you. Bad for your soul. Bad for your heavenly soul. God's going to be mad at you. God doesn't care if you walk under a ladder.
No.
Also, don't walk under a ladder. It's fucking dangerous.
Yeah, 'cause it could fall on your noggin.
Someone could fall on you. Stuff could fall on you. The ladder could fall on you.
It's just don't do it.
You could trip.
Yeah. You can knock somebody else off.
You could
the
knock
ladder.
somebody else off of the ladder. Stepping on a crack.
Break
Break
your
your
mom's
mom's back.
Break your mama's back. Cracks have long been associated with portals or doorways to other realms. So stepping on a crack could either transport you elsewhere or cause the door to open and welcome bad spirits into our world who would seek to do you or yours harm. Hence where we get step on a crack, break your mother's back. Spirits are going to chase down your mama. They're going to be like, who the fuck let me into this world and who brought them here?
Yeah.
Time to fuck her up. So don't step on cracks. You'll hurt your mom.
Yeah.
Lastly, we have our favorite feline friends.
Black cats.
Black cats.
Like Minerva.
Like my cat. Oh, I was gonna get her and just be like this one, but she can't come up here. There's carpet.
No.
You would never be okay again.
Yeah, I would die. I'd have to carry her in here and then carry her out. In ancient Egypt, we all know cats were associated with good luck, and they were in fact represented they were representative of deities, of some gods. So they were
Fast.
Yes, they were worshipped in a way in ancient Egypt. But unfortunately, the tide turned for our feline friends in 1232 CE when a papal bull by Pope Gregory IX declared them an incarnation of Satan.
Sounds like Pope Gregory did not like cats.
And it's specifically black cats. This is when the black cat thing started. He said black cats are Satan. Bad. He, in this papal bull, which is basically like a Pope proclamation.
Yeah.
Like
he
as a representative of God from the church,
Yeah.
cats are evil. Black cats bad.
he went to try and pet like one of those strays in the Vatican.
A Vatican stray, and it bit him.
Yeah, it
And
bit him.
it was a black cat, and it bit him and went, and he was
Yeah.
like, Satan.
Yeah, that one is the devil.
Unfortunately, it's like, 1232, and we still think this?
Yeah,
Yeah, people love things that are incarnations of Satan.
Oh,
And by love, I mean hate.
yeah.
Things only got worse as time
People
went
love
on.
to believe in it.
They love to believe in it. Only got worse. Middle Ages would bring about some horrible shit for cats.
Oh no,
They would be burned in bonfires on holy days.
no.
Like, part of Easter celebration was throwing black cats into a fire in the Middle Ages.
Fuck.
In some places. And then, of course, the Puritans in America, who ruin everything, began to associate them with witchcraft.
Yeah.
Le Devlé.
The devil and witchcraft. And then it became commonplace to associate them with mischief and misfortune, even death, because of witches and this already existing thing of their incarnations of Satan. In modern times, this is a PSA. Hi, it's 2025. In modern times, black cats are the least adopted and most at risk in shelters.
And they're so sweet.
Still on Halloween or mischief night, people go out of their way to harm black cats and even black dogs.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a black cat and they are a sometimes outside cat, bring them inside on Halloween.
We used to keep our sometimes outside black cat that we had when I was a kid inside on Halloween.
Yeah, don't let
Yeah.
your black cat be outside on Halloween. People are horrible, and they really, really go gung ho about black cats are evil, black cats are bad on Halloween. They really lean into it. We have Minerva, who the only thing that's wrong with her is she's fat, diabetic, and makes me itchy.
Yeah.
But she can't help any of those things. Well, she could help being fat, but she's just a hungry bitch. She loves to eat. And I get it. I too am fat because I love to eat. So I didn't give myself diabetes about it. But, she's a cat.
She's a cat.
It's easy for her to accidentally get diabetes because she's small, and therefore fat is
Relative.
a small window for
Small
her.
margin.
But yeah, so I don't want to end it on kind of a bummer for a very silly episode that I made myself for my birthday. But if you like cats, go adopt a black cat.
Yeah.
Go get a black cat out of a shelter. People are less likely to adopt them. If you like dogs, go adopt a black dog. We talked month ago now, it feels like. When was it? Whenever Bachelor's Grove came out. I think it was over a month ago now for you. It was yesterday for us. We talked about the black dog in the cemetery. Black dogs are also less likely to get adopted because of those kinds of superstitions of them being the grim and being bad luck. They can't help what color they were born.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Genetic lottery.
It's a cat. It's a kitty cat in a shelter. The worst thing that's going to happen is it maybe doesn't like you that much because it's been in a shelter and doesn't trust people.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to bring you misfortune. In fact, I think Minerva has made my life better, except for the fact that she makes me itchy and sneeze. But any cat would do that. It doesn't matter what color they are. I'm not more allergic to black cats than I am to other cats. In fact, I'm less allergic to her than I would be to a long-haired white cat because she has short hair. And long-haired cats are more allergenic.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot more dander.
Yeah, a lot more dander. And I'm allergic to both the dander and the saliva of cats.
Damn.
So, did you learn anything about bad luck, 13, triskaidekaphobia, paraskividecaphobia,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th?
I learned all sorts of fun things. I thought it was
I
super
learned a
interesting.
lot of new words.
Oh yeah.
You won't remember them after today,
No.
probably. I did have to write a pronunciation guide for paraskividecaphobia, decatriophobia
Good.
in my notes, so that way I remember how to say it, because it is not spelled how it sounds.
I can't
Great.
imagine so. I thought it was interesting to like hear about like the different like origins and proposed origins and theorized origins of where all of these different like taboos came from.
Mm-hmm.
It fucking fascinating.
Right.
Thank you.
It's like, why is this bad, but that's not?
Right.
It's also interesting to like think about what we know, why we know it, where it comes from.
Yeah.
Because I think it shows the entire like why folklore still works and still exists. Because
Right.
like I couldn't tell you where or who taught me these things, but it's like
Right.
I remember being
Right.
in like first or second grade and singing about stepping on cracks.
Right.
Mhm.
Like and nobody I couldn't tell you anything specific about where I would have learned that from. You know, I think it helps if anybody's ever like, I don't think folklore is really something that's still, oral tradition's not something that still really happens. Yes, it is. Look in your playgrounds and your...
Like, literally, urban legends are folklore.
Yeah.
And this is old, long-standing folklore. It's not ancient, but it is old. It's Middle Ages old.
Yeah.
It's fucking old. I think that's everything that anyone will ever need to know about the number 13 or triskaidekaphobia or Friday the 13th. Maybe not all bad luck superstitions. I kind of picked, like, really well-known ones and then some interesting ones from not here.
Yeah.
So we may revisit that at a later time. But I think that's everything about 13 that I have for you. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
Happy birth.
Happy birth.
I'm old now.
Thanks for listening.
This podcast is for weirdos.
Are you a weirdo?
Thursdays are for the phenomena.